American Gods by Neil Gaiman. This book is about the modern world and how ancient gods are interacting with it. They all seem to be living in America, and there's a new generation of gods based off what current society worships that they have to now interact with. I was recommended this book by a good friend of mine and a few other people, so I decided to pick it up, and I can already say that I was very happy with how much I enjoyed it, while being simultaneously almost a little underwhelmed, in a good way, which sounds confusing, but let me clarify. The world building is kind of bland and underwhelming, but that serves the purpose of the book and actually helps build the world itself. Now, the reason it feels this way is the protagonist that we're following is fairly lackadaisical about everything that happens to him. He sees incredible things all the time and just kind of the whole time about it. But that's actually kind of great. It lets this book have a very unique tone and feel to it that I've never really seen in a book filled with this much fantasy and extraordinary things. Think of it as the exact opposite of the feeling you get watching the Harry Potter world through Harry Potter's eyes. You're constantly amazed and blown away, and this kid just loves what he's seeing. Our main protagonist, Shadow, sees things almost on that level and just kind of shrugs them off every time. It makes the book really stand out in a way that I enjoyed, and I didn't think I would at first, but it is kind of cool. So I actually want to give the author a lot of praise for successfully executing a maybe more bland world that still manages to feel like it's awesome, and you understand that, but you also relate to the protagonist who kind of just shrugs it all off. And for that, I'll give it a 8 out of 10 because I think it's fairly original and it's pretty well executed in the way it's done. But moving on to the story. The tone established for the story, as I already said, was very good. I liked the way the author handled his world influencing his story and his story influencing his world. That being said, it wasn't entirely the most original story. It's a pretty... I'm not going to get into spoilers, but you can see some twists and turns coming. Some good suspense is built here, and that is assisted by the excellent tone, but overall I wasn't completely fully impressed with the story that I was given. I was much more interested in the world that was built. For that, I'm going to give the story a 7 out of 10, and now we're going to talk about the characters. Our main character, Shadow, is so much fun to follow, just because he's so tired of it, and he's very different from any other protagonist I think I can remember following in any book. Shadow is a heck of a lot of fun to get behind, but that being said, he doesn't really develop at all. He is a very well-rounded, established character, but no character really develops throughout this book, which makes sense for the gods. They are gods. I'm pretty sure they've done all the developing they can do to this point, but every character is pretty much who they are at the beginning to the end. That being said, all of them are filled with personality and have a very distinct vibe to them, and for that I can't really give too much off for lack of development when everything is already so well developed at the start of the book, and you get a real clear impression of who everyone is from the get-go. So I'm going to go ahead and give character a 7 out of 10 as well. Everyone is really well done. They just are who they are. And if you're okay with that, I think you'll really like the characters presented in the book. Now, the technical writing in American Gods is nearly flawless. The author kind of almost sounds like he's writing poetry at times, even if it's just normal dialogue. He's just great at establishing rhythms and cadence between characters, and if you really look out for it, I think you'll really appreciate the level of care that goes into how certain people talk to certain others, and that really lends to the dynamic between characters. It takes a really good technical writer to execute unique dialogue for every relationship between characters, and that pretty much exists, especially with how Shadow interacts with people, how he treats Wednesday versus how he treats some girl he meets that's hitchhiking. It's very different, and I think that lends a lot to this author's credit and his technical ability, and I'm certainly going to be looking to pick up more books of his in the future because of that, because anyone who can write dialogue on that level and feel that level of storytelling coming through really impresses me. So the technical writing for American Gods, I'm going to go ahead and give a 9 out of 10. It's wonderful. Now, this book did something that actually typically really bothers me, but I didn't mind here. I typically don't like when a book takes a break in the middle of it to tell some obscure other story. For instance, Way of Kings does that, and I don't really like any of them. It feels like it's just wasting time from the people I really want to follow. Sometimes it can be great for world building, but if your world's already built really well, you don't really need it, period, in my mind. That being said, American Gods did it really well. I was very impressed with how interesting, and it helped build the dynamic between gods and humans as well. These side stories really did for the American Gods world. It really showed the dynamic between the mortals and immortals, and I enjoyed that almost as much as the actual book itself. So I can't knock off for that. And I did read the definitive longest edition of this book. It's actually, I listened to it from Audible. Audible's fantastic. Not sponsored, just download Audible. It's great. And I think that's just about everything I have to say about American Gods. I'm going to go ahead and give it an overall 8 out of 10. I think it's really well done, very well executed. I just had a few issues here and there, especially with story. It feels like someone who's such a good technical writer should be able to come up with a better story arc for everyone to follow, but I understand this is what it had to be. Should I check out the American Gods TV show? If so, let me know down below. Now I'm going to do something a little bit different here. I'm not just going to sign off. I'm actually going to give you a book recommendation, not something I've reviewed. I don't even know if I necessarily know how to review this book because it's an autobiography, but it's the best one I've ever read. And that's Giant of the Senate by Al Franklin. This book is absolutely wonderfully well done. It does have the voice of a comedian coming through because that's what Al Franklin was first and foremost in his life. But it also is an incredible insight into how the American Senate works, what the president has done to the current political environment that we are all dealing with. And if you're liberal like me, it's great. And even if you're not, I think it could give a really good insight into why someone would be a Democrat or a liberal, which is always a great thing to do. Try to reach out to the other side and understand where they're coming from. And I just love Al Franklin all the way back from his SNL days. So that's how I feel about that. I hope you enjoyed this video. And if you're going to pick up The Giant of the Senate, let me know. Or if you're going to pick up American Gods, let me know. And please let me know if I should watch the TV show or not. I'm already watching so many shows, so I don't know if I'll have time, period. And please like and subscribe if you haven't already. Peace.